this 2-day program, we will be exposed in the different facets of compensation and benefits and how we can best utilize them to make sure that we achieve internal equity, market competitiveness, affordability, and alignment to our business strategies and ambitions. This course is for HR professionals who would like to gain better insights on how rewards and remuneration can be effective and yet affordable. Join me and the other HR professionals as we share our insights, experiences, and HR life's lessons about compensation and benefits. I am Vivian Cruz, your global training partner for Certificate in Compensation and Benefits program.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Trainers Lounge, the show where we talk about anything and everything about L&D. Well, we have a new episode and a new topic for you today, and we are going to be joined by two of our graduates from the CLDP certification program. But before we go on to our discussion, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow our social media pages. We are on Facebook. Just search CLDP Philippines and you can watch all of our previous episodes there as well. We're actually live right now on Facebook. And then you can also watch our previous episodes on YouTube. Just search our channel there, Circological Group, and search for the Trainers Lounge playlist. But if watching is not your thing and just want to sit back, relax, and listen to our previous episodes, we got you covered as well. We are on Spotify, and all of our previous episodes are also available to be listened there. All right. Well, for today's episode, we are going to talk about the new hire orientation and how we can use it and develop it for remote teams. And of course, as I mentioned, we are going to be joined by two of our CLDP graduates who will share their insights and knowledge and expertise in this subject. And so, without further ado, let's get to know our trainers. Both of our guests for tonight are came from Commerce Labs, and which is one of the top 150 leading online marketplace management and strategy firms in Los Angeles. They've been named the best entrepreneurial companies in America by or America B Entrepreneur magazines from 2016 and 2019. Of course, we have our first guest, Mr. Alonzo Miranda, a learning and development associate who worked as a development analysis analyst rather sorry for the Department of Trade and Industry before taking on the challenge of developing employees in a remote working environment, and also a Spotify verified artist. Ayan. So you can listen also to his previous works. Also, we have Miss Mariko Urimoto, She is an HR supervisor and L&D lead, an experienced online freelancer with a content background, now supporting employees through engaging learning and development programs. So, without further ado, let's welcome them.
Hey
There we
Kevin.
go.
Hi,
Hi,
Kevin.
Alonzo, Marco. Good to see you, and thank you for joining us here at the Trainers Lounge. Well, as I've mentioned, we are going to talk about virtual new hire orientation. It's not a new thing, but
Yeah.
it's catching waves from the recent years, especially during the pandemic. And
Mhm.
thank you so much for sharing or for being here to share your knowledge or experience on how to set up this new trend for our NH or for new hire orientation. Well, I have some questions for you today. Are you ready?
Oh sure.
Yes,
Sure
we'll
thing.
All
answer
right.
it to the best of our ability.
Nice, nice, nice. All right. Well, of course, let's start off with something ano naman, more general outlook into NHO. I think it's not a new thing, no, new hire orientation, but how is new hire orientation usually done? Ayan. So, paano ba yung mga changes na? How did it develop? How did it started? And what are the changes from the recent years?
So based on our experience, no,
Mhm.
Kevin, we've seen new hire orientation focus primarily on what needs to be done by the employee, the ins and outs, the rights and the wrongs, doon sa mga tasks that will be assigned to them. Whereas now we are seeing a lot of companies put a lot of effort or highlight the importance of discussing corporate culture, core values, and the likes because it sets the tone. It ensures that the employee is not just competent but also a culture fit to the organization, and that is a welcome change that we've seen. And it's no longer treated as a one-time event. Often, traditional settings now would always refer to a new hire orientation process as sort of like a babysitting period
Mhm.
for the operations
Yeah.
team so that they can prepare, they can get ready while L&D looks after the new hires. But now there is a lot of collaboration across the board, and we ensure that all of the new hires are looked after beyond training. That goes sa 30 days nila, sa 60 days, and sa 90 days nila. And we incorporate reinforcement and training, which is not something that we've seen done in the
Mhm.
past in more traditional setups.
Mhm.
Yun. And well, Alonso, how about you? What were the things that you remember or when you first tried to attack or use NHO? What were your experiences or parang naaalala mo through its development?
All right. So, as you mentioned earlier, Kevin, I used to be part of the government or the public sector, but I
Mhm.
also experienced working for the finance sector as well. And I've experienced both sides of the spectrum from a very in-depth new hire orientation, onboarding. It took like 1 week and then shadowing and then
Mm.
OJTs. But I've also experienced yung there was no new hire orientation at all. As in baptism by fire. First
Oo.
day, do this, submit mo agad sa boss, and then yun na agad. So, I kind of saw both sides, and I sh- I guess one thing I really noticed, it really depends, number one, on the industry, because different
Mhm.
industries require different types of training. However, for me kasi personally, regardless dapat of whatever industry you're in, the new hire orientation or the onboarding process is something that every organization should like look into or have prepare, because it's like the first taste of the employee or first introduction of the employee to the company. So in our case in the remote organization, I really focused on what Mariko mentioned: core values, how our company engages, and basically forming that connection with our new hires. So yeah.
Yun. Alright, I see, I see. Well, ako, siguro, in a way, NHO for me was not something that I was aware of that was happening. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah.
When I
Mhm.
had my first job, I was quite young, 17. Ayan, 17.
Wow.
I don't know if that was a legal age already. But it wasn't a permanent job naman. It's basically parang summer thing or summer position, things like that. But yeah,
Mhm.
I wasn't really aware of NHO, siguro given the fact that I was young. And looking back at the different places that I've been in or jobs that I've been in, I've had also like a taste of what it's supposed to be and what it's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
Ayun. I remember one time I had this company. I was in this company rather. I had my first day and I had to do my duty on the first day already. Let's put it that way. Like I wasn't even aware what the company is, the history of the company, who am I working with. As soon as I went in
Yeah.
there on my first day, I was going to do my task already. And then on the other
Mhm.
side, I had like a mix of both. I was learning the things or I was doing some small tasks already, but along the way or for the first 2 weeks, I had to learn about the culture of the company and even the culture of our clients. Because we were not,
Yeah.
or we were catering to another clients from another country. So they had me watch movies
Mhm.
about that
Mm.
country, the history of that country,
Oh,
how their
okay.
language works, things like that. So I was quite prepared when all of the tasks or all of the job descriptions that I was supposed to do was handed to me. At least I had the tools already or the know-hows on how to attack them. You know?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think no tama nga na new hire orientation is quite something that is happening na. I'm not really
Mhm.
sure about the history of it when it started becoming a trend, no?
Mhm.
But I think it's been a long time naman na, or it's been here for a long time already. Now,
Yeah.
uh, going to the strategies that companies employ, kasi like Miss Mariko and or Mr. Alonzo here, we've had different experiences.
Yeah.
We've had a spectrum of experiences. Now, I wanted to ask you naman, what are the trends that worked in new hire orientation? Or ano yung mga trends na nakita ninyong nangyari through the decades or through the years?
For me, it is, of course, the use of technology. Using that to our advantage to broaden yung knowledge pool, kumbaga, for both the facilitator and the learners. And also, one thing that we are excited in seeing sa learning and development as a whole is the gamification of
Ayun.
L&D. Diba? Because we're working with people, as we progress, our attention spans
Mhm.
become a lot shorter. So the question remains na how do you engage with learners regardless of environment? And we find that gamifying learning and development not only nurtures engagement but also promotes retention of knowledge. Sometimes they remember the things that you gamified more than what you taught in a lecture or on in a
Mm.
lecture format. So, yun yung mga nakikita namin since we started building the learning and development program in our organization.
How about you, Alonzo?
Yeah.
What are the trends na naaalala mong sumikat throughout the years?
Yeah. So, based on my experience, of course, I experienced yung instructor-led new hire orientation. So it was like
Mm.
a classroom setup
Mhm.
with, I guess, little to no interaction when it comes to yung learners. Like, yung information was just being fed to you. Pero the thing that I guess worked a lot, especially in our case, was, keeping it engaging, keeping it
Mhm.
interactive, because given naman we're in a remote organization, so we have to use tools, we have to use the different software available. But one of the struggles is having that human touch because we're seeing each other through screens. So
Mhm.
we try our best to like keep it engaging. Yeah, we try to form that human connection with our new hires. So I guess once they feel that, they're locked in, they're focused, and they can absorb the lessons better, I guess.
Yeah. I actually agree with that. Ako naman siguro the trends that I've seen or experienced was the length. Ayun. I think I have to
Yeah.
focus on the length
Hmm.
kasi sa akin
Mm.
memorable yung mga companies na that gave me time actually to ease into the company. And then
Yeah.
of course in the opposite side, I also remembered the companies that didn't give me enough time to ease into the to the setting or to the company. Because well, yeah, I remembered this time. For the first 3 days, I wasn't doing anything job related. All I did was learn, absorb, do activities with my immediate supervisor or someone who's supposed to, or someone who I'm supposed to shadow, things like that.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
then I also encountered, as I said, like the first day, you do what you need to do. So I think when companies over the years realize that you need to employ some time for
Yep.
new hires to
Mm.
ease in to your company. Well, coming from a family of teachers, I remember my grandmother when she was new to the teaching or to the teaching world way back in 1980s, 1970s. Biglaan,
Wow.
'di ba? Like
Yeah.
I asked her. We actually talked about what her experience was when she transitioned into public teaching. Were you trained? Were you given something like this, like that? She doesn't remember. All she remembers was she was called. She had to report to the school, and she had to do her job, something like that. But yeah, I think over the years, companies, not just L&D teams, but the company heads as well, have realized na importante talaga yung to give your new hires a time to ease in to your organization. Ayan.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
we our topic today is about NHO, but for remote teams, which is a new, well, not new, but rather kailangan, kinailangan nating i-adapt because of the
Yeah.
pandemic from 2019 or 2020. Now, I'm quite curious, what were the challenges that you encountered, and when you conducted or when you need to conduct NHO for your remote teams?
Yeah. So I'll
Sure, sure, sure.
okay. I'll start the answer. I guess. I guess I could, off the top of my head, number one would have to be the technical aspect of things,
Ah,
because you're conducting your training over the internet. Of course, hindi may iwasan yung internet connection issues, yung
mhm.
bandwidth problems, especially when it's on the side of the learner. So you really have to reschedule, you have to adjust. There are also instances at technical side when, for example, on Zoom, hindi nagko-connect yung audio nung participants. So sometimes it's fixed by, restarting your computer or something. Or there's the technical aspect of it. Another thing, I guess, is what we mentioned earlier, yung the human touch. So the human aspect of training, since it's not face to face, it's not physical, so you only see each other through screens. Sometimes learners can, disengage pretty easily, which is why you have to maintain that engagement, whether it's an interactive activity every 3 to 5 minutes, or asking them questions, letting them take the leads training at times. And I guess the third thing, I wanted to echo what you said earlier. It was preventing information overload by giving learners
Ah,
time. So in
Mhm.
our case, we used to have the 1 day new hire orientation as well, but through the direction of our VP of People and Culture, Drew, we changed it to a 4 day orientation. So
oh,
to
I see, I
avoid
see.
yun nga, yung information overload, to also balance the training session, to give the new hires time to absorb the
Mhm.
practice and the new techniques that they've learned. So I guess the another thing pala is communicating the company culture, which is kind of hard when you do it virtually. Because since the new hire orientation is like um the first taste or first experience of a new hire to the company's culture, you really have to find ways on how to communicate it well so that it translates better. So yeah, that's on my end. How about you, Mariko?
For me, I'll speak about building the program from the ground up, and really the main challenge was creating the materials. Given the nature na we are a remote organization, everything was in the cloud. Our SOPs, our wikis, they were all over the place. So the challenge for L&D was to collate everything and build a program and also build learning materials that are um, effective for remote learners, kumbaga. So designing was a challenge, building the materials was another challenge, and finding those materials, validating those information is another.
Oh,
And
yes.
I think really understanding, also talking about the effectivity of our training. Alonzo and I sort of have this agreement na if the learners are not seeing something, they should be hearing something. Because
Oh.
that is one thing, that is one way we keep them interested. We keep them from multitasking because they can do that when they're
Mhm.
on Zoom. They can respond to emails, they can start responding to instant messages, or worse, they can start browsing the internet and totally disassociate from us. So, really, it's pulling them back,
Mm-hmm.
and also um, pressing or highlighting that we see them, the learners. That is why Alonzo and I really spend and inject activities that allows us to get to know our learners individually, because we're fortunate enough that we don't lead NHOs in large groups. Typically, we
Mm-hmm.
only have one employee, so one facilitator to one learner set up, and we use that opportunity to really get to know them, what they're obsessed with, what irks them, what how they're feeling at the moment, yung mga ganong check-ins. It makes them feel seen,
Mm-hmm.
valued, and therefore they're more parang inclined to stay engaged.
I see. Well, I'm actually curious what, or not what, but how, but rather how much of your previous NHO program was kept when you transitioned into remote NHO or virtual NHO? Do you remember? Like, did you scrap a lot of things from the previous one, or did you just kind of transform them to apply for a virtual setting?
I would say, Alonzo, you can chime in on this one, but I would say 10%.
Sure.
Really, what we kept would be yung discussion about contracts and benefits,
Mm.
yung HR business partner discussion. As for the rest, we had to revamp everything, from the ground up, from the tests down to what we're teaching, what we're sharing, what we're not sharing, to the learner. And it's still evolving to this
Mhm.
day. We are on our way to our NHO version 3 for 2023. So it's continuously evolving.
I see, I
Yeah.
see. I think, well, I hope it wasn't like a very difficult time. Or hindi naman kayo nag-develop ng wait, I think I struck a nerve there. I hope hindi naman kayo nag-develop ng PTSD. But yeah, I can just imagine like stripping something you've been doing for a while, no, and then have to transform it into something new. But I think no na the team or your team was able to handle it well, and I think it's going smoothly now. But I love what you said. It's continuing, or it's continuing to evolve naman pala, which is I think is what's important nowadays. Kasi if you stay behind on what you know, or if you stay true to what you are just through doing for the past years, and development will not be there definitely. Ayan.
Mhm.
But on my end naman, nung nakuha na natin siya, and then of course we're not doing this for nothing, no.
Yeah.
How would you discuss, or how would you elaborate the importance naman of having an NHO for new hire, or for remote teams rather, sorry. Ayan.
Okay.
Oops, sorry.
No worries.
Nasira ang aking camera. Ayan. Sorry for that. Ayan. Sige, yun. Going back.
Yeah. So the importance of ensuring a proper NHO or new hire orientation, especially for remote teams.
Mm.
Um, I guess I'll echo what I said earlier. The NHO is our first opportunity to prove that we stand by our core values. So it basically introduces the company to the new hires. So it's really important to ensure that there's a laid out program because it gets employees familiar with our overall direction, policies, general requirements, and in turn, this enables them to feel welcome. So they feel included within the larger organization, and sometimes it establishes their commitment, I guess, to the company
Mhm.
as a whole. So yeah.
How about you, Mariko?
To
Yeah.
to add to it, no, we use the NHO as an opportunity to discuss and really rehash over and over again the impact that their work does to our overall business goal. We're fortunate enough to be part of a company who lets us in on our big, hairy, audacious goals, and all the intricacies supporting our BHAG. So we use that conversation, we use that information to empower and establish with the new hires that you're not just a cog in the machinery. You are a contributor, and you make a huge impact to what we do. And once you're endorsed to operations, that is when you start helping us, because we treat each other like high performing athletes. So once you're in operations, we will depend on you to help us achieve that goal. And really, that reinforces the importance of new hire orientation, because we don't have that opportunity once they get to operations. It's a
Mhm.
battlefield out there. So yun, I think that is how we establish that.
Yeah, I love that kasi the generations right now. Actually, there is a study that shows that the generations right now, or the new working generation, don't stay or don't just choose a company based on monetary benefits,
Mhm.
but also they're looking into how what's the right term, how well they can be or how well can they join to be a part of that organization,
Mhm.
parang ganun na. Well, actually it's true naman talaga. It's not just about the monetary benefits. You have to make sure that the company or the environment is safe. Ayan, you can be safe there both physically and mentally, no, and socially, of course. These kinds of things kino-consider na ng mga younger generations, and yeah, with NHO I think that's how we can improve our first impression to them. Ika nga,
Yeah.
first impressions last.
Mhm.
And if the way they start with our company it doesn't go well, then it will surely affect not just their performance but their loyalty, ayan, and also their willingness, ayan, to be a part of something bigger. Ayan, parang ganon. Now,
Mhm.
And
uh,
Kevin, if I
sure,
can
sure,
add also, sorry, before we jump into the
sure,
next
sure.
topic, we use, because we work in a remote environment, establishing structure is very difficult. You work with people from
Ah,
different time zones, different working styles, diba? So we use the NHO to establish structure. We follow a timetable. We parang establish yung mga breaks, yung house rules. We rehash those in our learning sessions, so that once they're endorsed to operations, they will carry those best practices.
Mhm.
And they will ease in a lot smoothly doon sa mga teams that is already existing, kumbaga, in the organization.
I see, I see. All right. I actually agree with that. Siguro ang hirap nga naman nung remote teams na, especially on your case, it's not just remote team in this country, but they're also from another country. So I can
Mhm.
just imagine the
Yeah.
things that you have to consider, or the preparations that you have to accomplish in order for them to smooth into your organization. Well, actually, with that, no, I was actually wondering then, how does your current virtual NHO compare doon sa traditional ninyo? Not which was done face to face, I think, you know.
No,
Okay.
actually,
No.
we're a remote team kasi. So we've been
Mm.
remote for 8 years since we started. So we don't have a
Ah,
traditional face-to-face na NHO. But Alonso, you wanted to chime in on how it was done then, um,
Yeah.
to how we're doing it now.
So we've had a lot of feedback from our employees who've experienced both. So they've experienced the
ah,
face-to-face
mhm.
NHO and they've experienced the virtual NHO. And the general feedback that we've gotten is that our virtual NHO in our company really competes with the traditional, if it's not I guess a little more elevated.
Mhm.
Because of the reasoning behind that is because they find our virtual NHOs um very comprehensive, very interactive, very engaging. And to echo what Mariko said, is that we really focused on letting the employees know that they're heard, that they're seen. So they really appreciate that because again, that is the human aspect of things. Na you're not just a cog in the machinery, as Mariko said. You are an important part of the team. That's why you are here with us today. So I'm to be honest, I'm pretty proud of our NHO process. Like I can brag about it to friends, to family that um we really impact another person's life with our NHOs. So yeah, and again that's all thanks to the direction of Drew and as well as the direction of Mariko as well. So yeah, do you have anything to add, Mariko?
No, nothing to add
Ayun.
from my end.
But okay, well, now with that, I siguro I wanted to check somehow, no, with face to face and the virtual NHO. I think they have their own challenges naman, and I
Yeah.
think they have their own benefits as well. So siguro on your opinion na lang din, uh, was doing virtual NHO affecting the amount of, or not the amount, but rather the level of rapport, let's say. I don't want to say intimacy naman. Parang masyado na
Mhm.
malalim yun. But rather a rapport. Parang, did they still feel connected or did it affect na nasa virtual setting siya?
For us, I think
Mm-hmm.
it affected it for the better. Like I said,
Ah.
we really take time to, we play fun, sometimes corny games, but it gets them to open up. Like whenever we talk about cultural awareness and cultural sensitivity,
Mm-hmm.
because we work with people from all parts of the globe, we get to see them open up about what they love about their country, what they're obsessed with when it comes to their culture and tradition. We also ask them questions like, what are randomly, like whenever we're talking about tech, and then whenever we take brain breaks, we randomly ask them, can you tell us like three things on your bucket lists? Um, and we just have that conversation. And we establish that connection. And, I'm so happy na us as trainers, whenever we see something, maybe on the internet during our personal time, we remember or we associate that thing to a new hire that we spoke to or just recently trained. And we get to establish that connection. Hey, this made me remember you, or isn't this something that you wanted to try? Yung mga ganon. So, if anything, it I think really affected it for the better.
I
Mhm.
see. Actually, the thing is, no, that was one of the biggest challenges or questions about adapting a virtual setting kasi they would ask, wouldn't it diminish the amount or the quality of a connection between the facilitator and the learner or the participant kasi hindi siya face to face, they're not seeing each other physically, things like that. But yeah, I think with the proper strategies, with the proper techniques or activities
Mhm.
that we will employ with it, whether it's for NH or for training as well, no, I think we can get past that parang question in mind now. Will it be just will it affect the quality of connection between the facilitator and the learner? Ayan. Well, speaking of training also, since NHO is a part of L&D of our task, uh,
Mhm.
what is your tips or parang message for those traditional companies, and what can they benefit if they try to, you know, promote synchronous and asynchronous styles of learning in the new normal?
For me, I can go first. It's
Mhm.
two things. One of the most important lessons that I picked up from building the learning and development program is that the learners don't care about us, the trainers, really. They're there to, they care about when they log in, they want to know how this benefits them. And that is how we frame our learning materials, our courses. How does this benefit you? How does this impact you? When you constantly ask yourself that question, you develop courses and materials that is of service not just to the new hire, but also the team that they will be joining once they're endorsed to operations. And second, don't be afraid of asynchronous learning. It doesn't mean that you will lose the human touch. You can always have it. You will still have it. It might just need extra work, and extra effort and extra awareness on your end as a trainer, but it you can still make it happen. It is still effective. And it also makes the learner feel safe. Asynchronous learning um, allows them to go back to the materials that they need to go back to, even when they've been part of operations for a very long time, beyond the 90 days, or the 90-day mark, kumbaga. So, I guess it's like invest in asynchronous just as much as you invest in synchronous learning,
Yeah.
and it will be very, very beneficial for the teams.
I
Hmm.
see.
And to add,
Hmm.
I guess this is one thing I learned during our CLDP. Shout out to batch 25.
Yeah.
It's to always go back to your why. Why are you conducting this training? Why do you need it? Because a practice in traditional companies is that they treat training as a magic pill. Sure, training goes a long way. However, it doesn't solve everything. So you have to go back to why do we need this training? What are we trying to answer? What are we trying to solve? And of course, finding the purpose, finding is training actually necessary, or is this another type of problem that you have to resolve? So for also, another thing to add is what you mentioned, Kevin, is giving people time to breathe, time to absorb everything, time to practice the new concepts, because change doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow and steady progress, but um if the person really wants to learn a new skill, he or she will get there. To echo what Pariko mentioned, adult learning principles, it's always how does this benefit me? How can I use this in my day to day job? So yeah, we just have to reinforce that. And yeah, again, I also agree that the asynchronous learning actually benefits organizations, but that doesn't mean you don't have to have synchronous learning anymore. You can always have a healthy mix of both.
There you go.
Mhm.
All right. I think the thing with these new trends is that they give us L&D professionals more options on how we can deliver the trainings that we need to do, or how we can help the development of our organization's employees. Well, to have more tools. Ika nga, it's better to have more tools to do a job than have a few tools. Parang that's how I see it. Eh. And with the trends of synchronous and asynchronous, I think it's much better for us, although it is also an avenue for us L&D professionals to widen our horizon. If
Mhm.
we are a
Yes.
traditional
Pushes
trainer,
us to
or
be creative.
diba? Yeah, true, true. If you're a traditional,
Yeah.
well, there's nothing wrong with it. But if you were used to having traditional trainings like classroom led lectures, things like that, and then you kept yourself into those or with those strategies, then it's gonna be difficult for you once things have to adjust for asynchronous types of lessons or for remote teams. And so, what if they had you handle remote teams? How would you do your, or how will you employ your current strategies that only work for traditional training? So yeah, uh, it's both a burden and a gift, I'd say.
Mhm.
But burden, a burden in a way that you just have to learn, or you just have to absorb
Yeah.
more things than what you're used to. But at the end, as I say, more tools means more ways for us to improve the L&D aspect of our organizations. Ayan. Well, siguro for me, my last question na lang, as an NLD team, no, or that caters to remote teams as well. How do you nurture a learning and development culture in the remote setting or in the remote working environment?
I think for me, really, it is getting the support. of the leadership team. When we built the learning and development team, the first buy-ins that we needed and wanted were the buy-ins of the leaders, really.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked hard to get that buy-in so that once we roll out our programs, they will encourage their direct reports to support the program, and by influence, kind of snowball on
Mm-hmm.
the engagement and the join rate kumbaga, or the involvement of the employees doon sa mga programs.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
see. Alonzo?
So on my end naman, it one aspect that people tend to forget is the communication aspect. So communicating training properly and letting employees know that this is available, it really sets the tone for setting a culture of learning, because sometimes they just don't know, oh, I wasn't aware of that we could take this training. So letting them know that opportunities are available is an important step in cultivating that type of culture.
Mm-hmm. I see. I actually like that kasi well I have been promoting communications in company. That's actually my specialization, let's say, in training. I am an avid promoter of communication, and yeah, a good communication program, or not just communication program, but a good communication culture can actually help us pave the way in introducing new things. No, well, with
Mhm.
not just the shareholders but to the employees as well. There's actually a good way for us to say requirements, or how to announce requirements without sounding like it's a dictation of things that
Yeah.
they need to do, diba? Like
Mhm.
the training sides of things naman, like for example, we have to announce, oh, you have to take this training. Instead of just you have to take this training, you can actually discuss to them what benefits can they have, or you can actually deliver it in a way that they would feel, or the employees would feel, the participants would feel that this is something designed for them and this is done for them, not
Mhm.
because it's a requirement, not because they have to do it out of required set of activities that they have to go through, and we can actually make it professional and personal at the same time. Yun, parang, so corporate communication, ika nga. But yeah, thank you so much for that. All right, well, that's all the questions I have. Any last tips, insights, or tricks for those who are interested into developing their own NHO virtually for remote teams?
For us, always find and strive for creative solutions. We
Mhm.
already have the learning and development infrastructure laid out for us by trainers of the past decades, ganyan. So it's high time for us naman to offer creativity and innovative solution to some traditional issues and roadblocks as trainers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Alonzo.
And for me, keep it engaging. So always remember the human aspect of training. Once your learners are disengaged, your training kind of goes to moot. So yeah, you have to like focus on, what the learner needs and how you can make that connection with them.
I see. All right. Well, thank you so much for those kind words and inspirations, and of course, tricks and tips rather for those for our fellow L&D professionals who are looking into developing their own virtual NHO. Well, before we end the show, would you like to share something from your side?
Yeah, Alonzo, take it away for
All
our
right.
Yeah, I think I
hiring.
have to show something naman here.
All right.
Ayan, there you go.
So we did want to share with everyone that we do have career hiring. So you can see on your screen here our link. So it's commercehabs.co/apply. So you can see all the available job openings. And if you do want to refer people, you can also share this link with them. So yeah, join us. We are a growing uh, team of A players, athletes, a dream team. So yeah, we can't wait to see everyone who's interested to join us.
Ayan. So, Commerce Labs are looking for their next partners. And if you think you're that one, just go to the link posted down below. Well, just to clarify, is this an office base or remote as well?
Fully remote
This
setup.
is purely remote.
Yeah.
Purely
Yeah.
remote, and so whether it's beneficial for you or not, I think you should give it a go. And so again, Commerce Labs are looking for new talents to be their partners in their growing company. So visit www.commercelabs.co/apply. All right, Mariko and Alonzo, thank you so much for being a part of the show. I learned so much about this new trend of virtual NHO, and hopefully our learners or viewers out there also had some, uh, paano ba to? Para mga tricks if they want to apply it in their own organization. So hope we can have you again here in our show, and bye for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us, Kevin.
Thank you,
Anytime,
Kevin.
anytime.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right, and that was Alonzo Miranda and Mariko Urimoto. Wow, virtual teams or remote teams rather have been becoming the new norm. I wouldn't say that it's the only norm, no, pero we cannot deny the fact that more and more companies have seen the benefits of having remote teams. So us as L&D professionals who are tasked with having them join the team and having them ease into the company's culture and organization's background and all the things, kailangan nating mag-adjust as well on how we deliver it or how we can show to our new members what the company is all about and what we can do together to achieve new heights. Ayan. So if you are looking for new tips and tricks for virtual new hires, I hope this episode it was able to help you with that. And that concludes our new or our latest episode for the Trainers Lounge, the show where we talk about anything and everything about L&D. Tune in next time to our Facebook page to see more tips and tricks only here at Trainers Lounge. I'm Kevin, and bye for now.